there! Welcome to the Little Art Bus's Polar Bear Painting Tutorial. Here's what you'll need. Your pre-sketched canvas, guide picture, 3 paintbrushes, 4 paint colors, paper plate, napkin, and 2 cups of water. Now there are going to be parts of this tutorial that go a little fast. Now when you hear this sound, feel free to pause the video so you can catch up. Alright, let's get started. To begin, I'm going to use my large paintbrush, dip it in a little bit of water, and get some white paint. Now I'm going to paint a thin layer of white paint all over my canvas. This is called priming the canvas. When we prime our canvas, it helps our other colors go on smoother and appear more vibrant. Remember to keep your white paint thin and smooth. You can add a little bit of water if it starts to get a little thick. While we're doing this, let me tell you why we have 2 cups of water. 1 cup is for washing our brushes to get all of that paint out, get them clean. The other one we're going to keep clean, and we're just going to dip our paintbrush in there to thin out our paint. And don't forget to paint your edges. Oh, did you hear that? I'm going to take a break and let you guys catch up. Feel free to pause the video right now. Now that my canvas is fully primed and the paint has dried a little bit, I'm going to start working on my background. I want to start painting my background by laying out where I want certain colors to be. I'm going to start with this warm yellow glow at the center and work my way out. I'm going to mix together some of my white paint and yellow paint to create this buttery hue. Then, using my flat brush, I'm going to paint a small arch shape from the horizon line up over the polar bear and back down. Then I'm going to fill it in. Don't worry if you paint over your bear. We can cover that up later. Now I'm going to get just a little bit of blue paint on the corner edge of my brush and grab a little bit more light yellow and start blending it into my canvas. I'm not aiming for perfection right now. I'll be going back over this in just a little bit. As I move further and further out to the edges of the canvas, I want my blues to get darker and darker until I get about an inch or so from the top. Then I'm going to blend the blues into a black sky. Now it's time to go back in and blend all of those arches of color together. Next, I'm going to start painting my trees. To make green, I'm going to mix together some blue and yellow paint here in the corner of my plate. With my small brush, I'm going to roughly mark where my tree trunks are on my canvas. I'm just going to use this as a guide. It doesn't have to be perfect. My background paint is a little heavy, so to see where my sketch lines are, I'm going to hold my canvas up to the light. Now to start painting my tree branches. I'm grabbing a bit of green paint on my small paintbrush, and starting at the top of my tree trunk, I'm going to gently flick my brush down in a short sweeping motion, alternating my strokes from side to side of my tree trunk. I'm also staggering my strokes so my tree doesn't look too symmetrical. I'm going to do the same thing on a few other trees, but not all of them. I want my trees to look different, so in a bit I'm going to make some darker shades of green by adding a tiny bit of black to my green paint. Now that the basic shape of my trees are done, I'm going to add some depth and dimension by adding some shadows with my dark green paint. Next, I'm going to paint the icy ground our polar bear is sitting on. I'm going to start by painting in some squiggly lines with some dark blue paint I made by mixing blue with a tiny bit of black. To make it super frosty, I'm going to make an icy teal color by mixing white, blue, and a tiny bit of yellow. Now for the ice, I'm going to add in a little white, and then add a little shadow with some dark blue paint under our polar bear. Next, I'm going to paint the polar bear. I'm going to start by filling in the bear's body with white paint using my small brush. I'm not really thinning my paint with water because I need it to be thick to cover any of the other paint colors that are on the bear's body, and it'll give the bear a little bit of texture and dimension. Now, to add some shape to the polar bear's body, I'm going to make a light bluish gray by mixing white with a tiny bit of blue and a very tiny bit of black, adding in some contours and some shadows. I'm going to go back in with a little bit of white and add in the bear's ears. With a tiny bit of black on the tip of my brush, I'm going to add 2 little dots for the bear's eyes, a larger dot for the nose, and 2 small crescent shapes inside the ears. Now I'm going to add in the snow to the trees and ground. With my small paintbrush, I'm going to get a little bit of white on the end and just randomly dab onto my tree branches. Then I'm going to add some snowdrifts along the bottom of the tree line. To soften the look of my snow, I'm going to gently pat the paint with my ring finger. I'm even going to add a little bit more paint by tapping my ring finger into the paint on my brush and applying it to the snowdrifts and trees. Now it's time to paint in our swirling snow in the sky. I'm going to get some white paint, nice and thin, on my small paintbrush and freehand some twirls and swirls from one side of the canvas to the other. Now I'm going to do another swirl, but with light blue. Keep swirling and twirling until you had enough. Now it's time to add in our stars and our snow. I'm just getting a little bit of white paint on the tip of my paintbrush and dotting it all over my sky. Just a few final details. And I'm going to put my initials down here in the bottom, and we're all done. Thank you so much for painting along with me today. You can get this painting as part of our holiday art kit on the Little Art Bus's website at www.thelittleartbus.com.